Well, hello everyone. Hope everyone's doing well and had a good 4th of July. We did pretty good here at the radio shop. This is the second week of the plant shutdown, and guess who had to work? Yep, me. Usually don't do that, but this year I had to work, and that's the way it goes sometimes. But anyway, we ordered parts. I finally get a chance to open them up and start looking at them, and these parts are for the pine board project. As you know, we already built the cabinet, or repurposed an old CB amplifier cabinet to put this in. And if you go on Google and you search pine board project kits, you'll come up with several companies that sells the Heil kits, and I happen to go to Amplified Parts, and I'll leave a link down below on the Show More tab so you can follow that. And it's probably one of the cheapest ones that I've seen yet, but let me get a closer look here at the invoice, and we can see the company is Amplified Parts, and there was actually 3 kits. There is another kit, the field strength meter, but you won't need to order that because it's only a few components that most of you have laying around in your junk box. In fact, you know, the whole transmitter can probably be built, you know, out of junk box parts. But I know some of you don't have a big supply of junk, so you know, unlike myself, I got junk everywhere. But I decided to just go ahead and buy the kit so we could start with putting this thing together. And again, it's Amplified Parts. I'll leave a link down. We ordered the P-BHPS, which is the power supply kit, and it was $89.39. We ordered the P-BH-PB-AMT, and that is the AM transmitter kit, which was $52.16. Then we ordered the P-BH-MP, which is the mic preamp kit, which is $28.89. So the whole kit come to a total of $167.41, and free shipping. So you can't really beat that. That sounds like it might be a lot, but it's really not, because we get a quite big assortment of parts. Some of this stuff we're going to use, some of it we'll probably not. And as we'll get further into the build, I'll be explaining why we're going to use it and why we're not going to use it. But you know, we have got a long ways to go on this, and I am going to try and keep these series of videos rather short instead of making long videos, so you can really digest each part of what's going on in the process and see the thought process behind it. And we're not just going to be building this and, you know, putting it together and turning it on and stuff. We're going to go through and talk about the stage that we're building, explain some things, and do some testing of each stage. And I think that way it'll be a lot better, so you know, everyone gets to learn not only, you know, what you're building, but what each part does and why we're doing it this way. So as you can see, we've got several bags and boxes and parts here on the bench here, and we're going to start out first with our power supply, and this is the Heil manufacturing power supply, and the number is 261G6. Now if you just needed the transformer, you didn't need all the other stuff, you could easily just go out and buy the transformer, because a lot of this stuff you're probably going to have in your junk bin again. But for those that don't, that's why I bought the kits. So And there you can see our power transformer. And you can see it has red, red, yellow, red, 250 volt with a center tap. Green, green is 6.3 volts. It's 2 amps. And the black and black is your input. So that's our power transformer. Now they did send a tube. This is the 6X5-GC. It's an RCA branded tube. And there's a lot of controversy on the internet on whether to use this type of rectifier tube or not. Maybe it'll work if I open it from the other end. Doesn't seem to want to come out that side. And the reason for that is that for some reason the 6X5 tube will go into meltdown for no apparent reason. So should we use a rectifier tube or should we solid state the power supply? We all love the glow of tubes, but in this case we're probably going to end up doing solid state rectification. But it is nice to have one of these tubes on hand just in case we decide to. You know, we could easily install the tube and then switch it to solid state. I'd like to hear your comments about that. See what y'all think. If we should go this way or not. I know others are using this. You know, we're only talking about 325 to 340. Somewhere in that neighborhood of B plus after filter and rectification. And it's not a big drain on the tube, but you know, you can use your own thoughts on that. We'll look at both and see which way we'll go. We'll go further into it and we'll make a mind up in the end. We might just start with tube rectification and then switch over to solid state. We'll just see how it goes. Okay, and all this is power supply stuff. We have a socket for the tube. There's a good three-wire grounded type power cord, like good thick wire. It's, you know, pretty good quality stuff there. A pack of 5 fuses. Comes with a fuse holder. With these panel indicator lights with a red jewel. There's 4 terminal strips, chassis mount terminal strips to solder your point-to-point wiring on. We have 22 microfarad at 450 volts. There's 3 of those capacitors, and I don't see a brand on these. It's just got a U on it. I'll have to look that up to see. 85 degrees C. And, you know, they are what they are. One little miniature double pole, double throw switch. And lastly with that we have some 1K, it's like 2 watt flame proof resistors. And these are for using the tube rectification. And that's why we have 3 capacitors in the circuit. And if we go solid state, we will only end up using 2 capacitors, and we'll use 2 33 k ohm resistors. in the power supply and won't even use any of the 1K. So that's the contents of the power supply. Next we have the parts for the mic preamp section. Got a couple of these 1/4 inch phono jacks, and we probably will not be using these since we're chassis mounting. There's a pack of 100K young resistors. This is a 10K pot. Tube socket. Pack of 1 meg resistors. Some 33K ohm resistors. Some 1K ohm resistors. We got some more these terminal strips. Well, that's so little I can't even read that. It is a sprayed capacitor though, and it's 10 UF at 25 volt. Good quality capacitor there. Funny that they use a sprayed. And 10 microfarad at 450 volt capacitor. 2 purple and 1 red chicken head knobs. There's a 50K pot. And another 50K pot. Then there's various ceramic and dip capacitors in here. I'm not going to bother taking them out. But that's the contents of the mic preamp. Next we have the transmitter kit. We have a choke, and that's part number P-CF22707. There's a tunable air capacitor. $56K resistors. There's a looks like a 500 picofarad silver dip capacitor. 22K resistor. $100 ohm resistors. 100K resistors. There's some little standoffs. We got, looks like 5 more terminal strips. $10 UF at 450 feet electrolytic. 47 at 50 electrolytic. A couple more tube sockets. And some more silver dips and 1 ceramic in the mix. So that's all the transmitter kit. And we have a box of number 47 lamps, 10 pieces. And I could always use these. I use a lot of these in these vintage radios we restore. And there's only 1 required for this radio, but you get 10, so that's a plus. So as you can see, we got quite a bit of parts here. for this build, and it's not everything we need. There's certain things, you know, we're missing the tubes for the transmitter, we're missing the tube for the preamp, but if you decide that you want to build this, what you need to do is go on over to Bob Heil's website and go ahead and download all the documentation that he has, the diagrams, the layouts. That way you can follow along. You'll have all that in front of you, and you can you know, see all the parts that we need and just what all's going on. So I'll leave that link down below also. But you know, this, like I say, we're going to need some hardwire. We're going to need a band switch, because we are going to make this thing multi-band, and we're going to need crystals. You know, I've thought about the VFO idea, and then if we build a VFO, we're going to need a mixer stage that we can mix our signals together, so we don't have to use the crystals. That way we can get everything in line of what we want. So, you know, this project can go a long ways if we let it. There's so many different things we can do. We can even go back and build an amplifier for it, you know. This transmitter will put out somewhere between 5-6 watts, the way it is. But again, it depends on just what all you want to do. So there's a lot of different things to look at in this build, and that's why we're not just going to jump in and start building. We're going to look at our stages, see what we need, how we want to do it. Then, you know, we also got to look at layout in that cabinet. You just don't go throwing parts in there. You know, you want your power supply away from the other two parts or two sections. You know, you don't want your power supply right on top of your mic preamp, where you introduce noise into the preamp, and then that's going to go into the transmitter and get amplified. So, you know, you got to look at that transformer placement, you know, where you can put it at, how you can keep it away. Then, you know, we got to have a band coil, and we're going to make our band coil. That's one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take a piece of Teflon, I'm going to turn it on the lathe and thread it to wind our coil on. Then we're going to make some spreaders to go on it and hold it together. So, you know, you can go to Ameritron and you can order their tank coil, and that's perfect for this project. I decided to go ahead and make my own, and then we'll probably, it's going to be made out of copper wire, and then we'll probably tin it with some liquid tin, and that's how we're going to make our band coil. And then we're going to tap it for 160, 80, and 40 meters, and that's why we're going to have a band switch. And it's going to be a two-part band switch. At the back you're going to have your band switch for your coil, to tap the coil, and then up closer to the front of the chassis we're going to have a wafer switch there that's going to select the crystals. So a lot to think about, a lot to get into. So when we look at our chassis layout, you know, we got our front panel here, and we already have some holes cut out, which are the perfect size for these sockets for the transmitter. So we can actually, you know, and there's two of them, one for the oscillator, one for the other two that we'll need. So we can put these in here about anywhere we want to. We can separate them, stagger them off a little bit. So thinking maybe, since the way this thing is laid out, we might actually come back here and mount our transformer towards the back. And if we decide to do that and not use all these tube sockets, I have this plate already cut out and we can recut this to allow the two sockets that we're going to use to come through. And you know, then we can put our transformer and put our transmitter somewhere up in this area here somewhere, you know, like that. And that gives us room to put our mic preamp here in the middle or over on this side to keep it away from all the other stuff. So that's just something there to think about. Then down to the center we can look at crystal, you know, oscillators and so forth right here in the center. And then we got to figure out how we're going to run the tank coil. Now if I measured it right for a full tank coil that'll cover 160 meters, I believe it will fit right in between this side running this way in the amplifier. So if that's the case, then we can get that. As far as our tuning capacitors, they'll be mounted underneath, and we'll run a shaft out the front. That's another reason why I wanted the lathe, to be able to make the couplers and everything in the front panel inserts that we need. Now this uses a ARRL network. I think this is 320 picofarad. Anyway, if we look at our schematic here, we can see we got a high impedance coming out of this 6AG7 output tube, and it's fed. And there's a 365 picofarad capacitor here, and this tunes the plate of the tube, and you know, goes into our coil. And then we have a 50 ohm load connected, you know, for an antenna, and you know, that just helps tune the circuit for the crystal frequency. And that's why they call this a ARRL network. But if we go in and we add a 720 picofarad capacitor, we now have a load, and that makes this a pi network, and it tunes your antenna a lot better, you know, so you have your plate and your load. So we'll be doing this to our transmitter in the future, and since we're doing that, it's one reason why we got to look at our layout on our chassis on how we're going to do this build. You know, that's why we just don't want to just start throwing parts in and then say, oops, you know, that's in the wrong spot, we're going to have to move it. Now you've already may have holes drilled in the front, and you know, more holes drilled in the chassis, and all that work, you know, will be going out the window. And that's why, you know, you have got to really plan ahead when you're building this stuff, to make sure that you got everything that you can think of that you want to do future upgrades to already in the design. So all you have to do is add it. But this is definitely something that we'll be adding probably right off the bat to start with, you know, because it makes this design a whole lot better to have that load capacitor in there. Anyway, here's a list of all the power supply parts. I'll leave this on the screen for a minute so you can stop it and copy it. This is the microphone preamp. If you want to get a copy of that. And this is for the transmitter itself. Now I'm going to actually also take pictures, and I'm going to put all this documentation on our website over at gocarders.com. So all this stuff will be available for download over there in the near future. Just got to get the time to get it all up and make it in PDFs and so forth. So we'll have all this on the website. I'll actually have a link below this series of videos to my website over on bobhiles.com on the Pine Board project. And so I'll have all those links there available for you to link to and follow. So there you go, guys. parts are in. Now it's time that we can start building and design an AM transmitter based on Bob Heil's design. And I think it'll be pretty nice making this in a metal cabinet. What I would really like is that we're over 15,000 subscribers now, and most of my videos 2,000 to 4,000 views, 25, 30 comments. But what I would like to see is participation on this. I would like to see, you guys post y'all's comment, the ideas that y'all have on it, how you would do it. Would like to know all that, because it'd be interesting to see how other people would think about putting this project together. And it gives me a better understanding of what folks want to see and how they like to see it done. So if you don't mind, share your comments. That's really appreciated. I never ask for people to thumbs up or whatever, but that really does help, and it makes the channel look better on YouTube part. And I think the last video I posted on the lathe introduction, about 200 likes. It's not bad, but 15,000 subscribers. We could only get a third of those in likes. Would be awesome, because again, it does help the channel out a whole lot, views and likes. I know I've been slacking on my part for getting videos posted, but with work, work's what pays the bills, not videos. I've even been slacking a bit on getting stuff on Patreon, which I got some more stuff that I'm working on for Patreon, and I'm planning on getting that up sometime in the next week. But gotta have these little projects like this to get your mind set straight. Come out and do what you want to do, and build something that you've always wanted to build, and share it with other people. So anyway, again, click the show more tab down below. I will be putting stuff on the website at Go-Karters for this. That link is always below every video, and when I get it up, I'll link directly. Again, I'm going to keep these as mini-series, so we can just focus on one thing instead of a lot of things at one time. And I'm going to be reading you guys' comments, and we'll be talking about them in each episode of this. I don't know, this might make 20-25 videos. We'll just have to see how far it goes, how much participation there will be. I will probably be doing some behind the scenes collaboration, like on Patreon, and this and that on this project here in the future. So if you're not on Patreon, you might want to check that out. Anyway, hope you enjoy this. I think this will be a fun project for us to work on. Like I say, we got most of the parts. What we don't have, we're going to build. I do have all the tubes in stock, so that's no problem. And I'll be putting links below to amplified parts, like Antique Ready Supplies carrying some of these parts, and a few others. Okay, so I'll give y'all the options if y'all do want to order these kits. So if you think you got enough in your junk box, that's fine. I'll also be putting a link over to Bob Heil's website, so you can see his episodes on it, straight from the horse's mouth, so to say. Anyway, we're going to move along with this. We're going to try to get a video out, maybe 2 videos a week out on this. We'll just see how it goes. Anyway, we'll catch y'all in the next video. Bye now.